final round. This race was due to be end of 2021, but brought over because of COVID to 2022. And we have 3 15-minute qualifying sessions coming up. It's going to be quick fire, but it's very wet indeed. You can see John Watson, track inspection going on because we have a huge amount of standing water.
Yes, I don't mention the safety car in wet weather conditions as I did last year. And you can see still hammering it down as you got to look there at the exit of Barbecue. There is the view looking towards the Yusuke sweep from Barbecue. So track conditions, as we saw from that support event for a BMW Formula, are virtually undrivable for those cars with their wheel and tyre combinations. So how the track is going to deal with this volume of water in the short term, difficult to judge. Now, I mentioned just a few minutes ago, if you can see Johannesburg in the background, if that vision of the city is out of vision, then you haven't got any chance. Once it starts to clear in the background, then we've got a good chance it's going to clear up at the circuit, hopefully very quickly indeed.
So the nominated first session drivers must be thinking, why didn't I pull the straw that said I was driver number 3? Because quite a while will pass before that time and maybe the track will dry out. It does appear to have stopped raining. Now, coming here for the final round, the delayed final round, there's all to play for. Audi sit in the pound seats, if you will, for the manufacturer's title, but Ferrari can still wrest it from them. But with the Drivers' Championship, we have Audi and Ferrari trying to double up, but a lot of drivers have been split from their regular partnerships, and Mattia Drudi did not expect to be competing here. The third driver in that number 32 Audi was supposed to be Dries van Toor. In fact, he didn't even make it to the circuit yesterday. The doctor said too unwell, and luckily Mattia was down in South Africa, so he's been slotted on board. And there's a face who wasn't expecting to be here either. But a lot of new faces coming to play alongside the old hands who were fighting out the title battle. We have only 2 points difference between the top drivers in the championship and the chasers. At the moment, it's Colm Ledegaard, Alessandro Pierguidi and Nicholas Nielsen, the Ferrari drivers. And they've been split between 2 cars who have a 2-point advantage over Patrick Niederhauser, Marcus Finkelhock and Christopher Haase. And likewise, Christopher Haase has been paired off into another car. Both of those manufacturers looking to double their opportunities, double their chances. And the outside bet comes from the Mercedes camp, T-Mac at ASP, and they have set all the pace so far. But down in the WRT camp, there is Yves Weerts, who founded the team, and son Charles alongside, and there Mattia Drudi in the grey hat as well. They're all waiting. I can't be sure the session is going to start bang on half-past because they've got to check that those track conditions have improved sufficiently. But looking out from the pit lane, you can see it's hammering down on the puddles that sit there. So much as I thought at certain points of the track, the long shots were showing that the rain may have eased a little bit. Not so, but in southern Africa in particular, the rain blows in and blows out very quickly indeed. But the sheer amount of water, John, that's super heavy.
Well, as I mentioned in our earlier broadcast, we're at just over 5,000 feet above sea level, and it is normal at this time of year that we do get these rain storms coming in. Now, we know in November, we know at this time of year it's not as bad ordinarily as it would be in November. Having a little look inside the pits to see what teams will listen. Even those wet weather tyres would struggle to clear the volume of water that is currently, it's just lying on the racetrack. And of course there's drainage all around the circuit. But look at that view. I mean, the background just completely no indication. Where's Johannesburg, Bruce? Can you see it?
Alas, no, John. With the sky the same. Now we've had rain every time the cars have been here. This is the 3rd visit for the Intercontinental GT Challenge, and we had thunder and lightning through the night in 2019. 2020 there was rain, but generally okay. This year, hopefully the rain will sweep through today, but looking at any weather forecasts, it does appear that rain will be a feature of this Kyalami 9-hour. So the track conditions are being checked, and this is a good moment to bring in our 3rd commentator this weekend. Welcome, Harry Benjamin.
Hello, Bruce. Thank you very much for inviting me to the commentary box for this weekend. I can't wait. My first endurance race, so take it easy on me, but it looks like the weather is really not playing ball here, and especially you think tomorrow when the race gets going, it gets dark. These kind of conditions in the dark, when you can barely see anything as it is, this track is hard enough in the dry.
Yes, and indeed this is a circuit where it's very dark but the puddles are super, super deep. Now, just waiting to find out, we're just getting announcements that the qualifying session will be laid, and we will give you announcements as they come. But anyone looking at these images of Kyalami will understand there is a lot of water that's fallen. It's a circuit with a lot of gradients, so some of it drains off, but there are still points on the circuit, notably the climb up through the Jugsky sweep. Even this morning, we saw little streams running across the circuit. They then dried out, but the sheer amount of spray coming off these Mercedes safety cars, Harry, indicates it's wise to hold back qualifying, because quickfire in this would probably mean quickfires with red flag.
Absolutely, and that's the last thing we want to see. We don't want to go out until it's safe to do so, because look, you can easily beach the car in the gravel, get stopped straight away, and you've got such off-camber corners as well. We go through the crocodile section too. You get that wrong, you take a different line, the wrong line, and you're off into the wall. And we saw the Into Africa car earlier on go off in the dry still and completely ruin the front end of that car.
Now, the good news, as you were talking there, Harry, the view from Loikop, the corner the cars have been to, the highest point on the circuit, looking back down the opposite direction to the shot of the start-finish straight, shows the weather down towards the turn one end of the circuit is far better than the weather coming in from Joburg. So conditions really, really tricky for the safety cars. And let's go down to the driver who's been brought in at the last minute. His name.
Well, as you guys had mentioned, Mattia Drudi is going to be filling in for Dries Vanthoor. And Mattia, it's been a crazy 24 hours for you. When did you find out that you were going to be here this weekend?
Yeah, it was yesterday morning. I was still sleeping actually at around 9 in the morning. And I got the call to prepare my bags and leave because Dries was not feeling really well. So yeah, I just packed everything as fast as I could and left. And I took the first flight and came here. I landed this year in South Africa at 3 last night, so it was really a short night, and this morning at 8 I was here on the track. Luckily I got some laps this morning on dry condition on the pre-quali. Now the conditions are quite different, but still I drove as well in 2020 here on, with quite a lot of water on track, so let's see. But yeah, actually the last 24 hours were quite hectic, I would say.
Well, you had some experience here this morning, but you also have raced here before, so other experience. How much will that help you here as you prepare for this 9-hour race?
Actually, it really helped to have raced here before, because already after 5-6 laps, I felt really good in the car, and actually I was quite surprised as well, because I thought I needed more laps to get into the rhythm. But luckily, after the second run, I was more or less on the pace or close to the other guys, so I'm quite happy about that. Now the conditions are different, but still, for sure, raced here two years ago helped quite a lot, because the track at the end is the same, the car is really similar, so I think it really helped.
Best of luck.
So that was Mattia Drudi, brought in at the last minute there because Dries Vanthoor not feeling well, and obviously we'd already lost Anders Fjordbak, wasn't able to come down south because he was COVID positive, and that gave an opportunity for high-class racing to bring in Thierry Vermeulen. But for all the top runners now, it's a time to recalibrate, find out when the session's starting, and get out on the track. But look how wet it is. But the grey sky is starting to move away.
It is. You can almost see it might even be clearing, dare I say it. But we might be able to get this session going. If you look closely, can you still see the rain dropping? It is still dropping hard. You can see the rivers forming as well. And that's going to be the crucial thing, because aquaplaning is obviously the worst thing you don't want to do that when you go out on track going a couple 100 miles an hour. And that's what they're going to want to wait for it to drain off and see if we can get this qualifying session going. Because in the dry and pre-qualifying, we're doing what, 142s, 143s. We won't be doing that again.
There is still a lot of flashing in the sky. We can see the city in the background, so that is an improvement. But there is lightning in the sky, and the sheer degree of water, particularly, I'll say it again, between turns 2, 3 and 4, the Jugsky sweep, there is still a lot of water running across the circuit. Now, Raffaele Marcello will be the first driver from Team ACA ASP to go out. His teammates will go out in sessions 2 and 3, but he has been fastest, so that car has been fastest in the 4 sessions so far. And Michiel Grenier really got going to be 4th quickest in pre-qualifying, Harry. So for Mercedes, on a dry track, things were looking good, but it ain't dry.
Well, absolutely. This is unknown territory, really. We've had a little bit of on and off weather, but this is the first time I think we're fully seeing a full, complete deluge. So it's unknown territory for all the teams. And let's not forget, because, of course, this is a delayed round from last season, from 2021. Championships are up for grabs here. There is championships to be won across the manufacturers, the teams, and the drivers. So they're all going to be bearing that in mind. You don't want to make the small mistake that could ruin your chance.
So it's real cross your fingers stuff. But Raffaele Marcello with the red hair this weekend, the orange hair.
Yeah, apparently
waiting to see when he gets out on the car.
He changes his hair. He dyes his hair every single race to a different colour, depending on how he's feeling. So he's gone for, the last couple of weekends, gone for ginger, a red, orange, fiery colour. We're going to do that. So I don't know how many he's had in total, but nice sort of pre-race ritual, perhaps.
Well, I think so, but he does really make his teammates change as well. Coming back from the Daytona 24 hours, he made two of his teammates change their hair colour. But Kenny Harble, I think, resisted. But of course, this is Kenny's car on the left. But this weekend here in South Africa, Kenny's sharing with Michael Grenier again and Martin Conrad coming on board. And conditions could not be more different to last weekend in Daytona. It was around freezing to -2, -3 overnight, most unseasonal. But here, it's hot. But it's so humid that we're having a huge amount of rain. But it does appear to have been moving away a little bit. No wonder the session start has been delayed. We'll give you clear guidance as to when the three 15-minute qualifying sessions will be starting. But right now, you can see the race officials are monitoring the situation constantly, Harry.
Absolutely. And of course, another thing to bear in mind is we are at slight altitude here too. So that's another thing that the drivers will be getting up to speed with and have been doing since they've been in Kyalami midweek. But just getting to grips with not only what the circuit brings at you in normal weather, but then coming into this deluge, and we're not quite sure when it's going to stop. As you say, it is clearing, but it still looks very, very strong currents coming down onto the track as we get a look at one of the Audi cars in the garage, the number 25 there, and the team's just ready to go and prepping. Winkelhock, Van der Linde and Niederhauser's car. Of course, Audi pretty much a shoe-in for the manufacturer's title to claim that this at the end of this race. It's going to take a lot for Ferrari to take that away from them. I think even if they finish 6th or above, it's not going to be good enough for the Ferrari cars, who have split, of course, their championship drivers across 2 cars to give them more of a chance, and Audi have done the same.
No, exactly. It's all intelligent stuff. But for the drivers right now, and for us, it's very easy to focus on qualifying. But it's the Joburg 9-hour that really counts. Whether you're second on the grid or third probably doesn't make the biggest difference. So maybe drivers will be marginally cautious, but that's about as much as we can expect, because, of course, there's still the pride of getting on pole position, and there is a prize for that as well. Well, more of that later. But right now we're waiting to find out by how much time this session will be delayed. But the sessions are supposed to be very, very close to each other. The first one was supposed to start at past, 15-minute session, only a 7-minute break, and then we get going again.
Exactly. Well, points being prizes, of course. The race is won tomorrow after 9 hours, so I look forward to joining you properly for the race coverage as well.
Well, weather conditions improving all the time, but from a very low base, it must be said. And the pit's a very busy place indeed. The drivers milling around waiting to get in the cars. They're not in there yet because they're waiting for the signal about when the session will start. The heavy, heavy rain appears to have blown its way through. And certainly those in the pits don't want to get in the cars too early. You never do. John Watson, put yourself in the scene. Oh, in fact, I think we're going to head down to the pits because Amanda Busick has been down to the pits. She's working in the pits, working hard, and she's got Jules Gounon.
Well, guys, as we get ready for this qualifying, as we look out, it's not currently raining, and I know Jules is overlooking that, but you've looked really strong here, especially in pre-qualifying. What are you finding here at Kyalami that's giving you an edge?
Well, I think first of all we were really pushing. I don't really know about the other manufacturer at the moment. They are playing the championship also for Timur, but Timur is a bit, let's say, behind on points. So our only goal is to push flat out to really see the balance of the car and extract the maximum of it. So the car feels really good, but now it's all changed again. We never drove on the wet, and the tire is really crazy at the moment. I hope we don't get hit, but now the track is amazing for this car. I think it really suits well the car. That's why also we are really strong. A lot of combined corners, and this car really likes to have a flowy track, you know, where you are in second, third gear, really flowy. And that's why I think we are really strong at the moment. But let's see when everybody push, like I said, and we will see where we are at.
Well, you are backing up the endurance race here this weekend with coming off of a 24-hour race last weekend. As a driver, how do you push through that?
Yeah, we had the first 24 of Dubai 2 weeks ago, then 24 of Daytona last week, and now the 9 hours of Kyalami. So you have to, let's say, get your sleep cycle on point because it's very difficult with the jet lag, but we are really lucky, you know, traveling around the world, driving those amazing cars. I don't want to complain at all about lack of sleep. I would do it at any time for long years. So really happy, just a bit tired, but who cares? We are driving this, so it's really cool.
Good luck this weekend.
So still seems as though there's a smile on the face of Jules Gounon, but all the drivers down here know they're going to be earning their call this weekend. But let's take a look at the points in the championship. Oh, it's close at the top. You've got the 3 Ferrari drivers on 37 points, the 3 Audi drivers on 35. So Ferrari from Audi, and then Charles Weerts, he could still win the title, but it's so tight, and Ferrari and Audi have split their driver pairing so they don't put all their eggs in one basket. They've each brought enough cars to do that. So Nicholas Nielsen has been paired away from Pierre Guidi and Ledergaard, and likewise Christopher Haase has moved into a different car from Winkelhock and Niederhauser. It's a sensible thing to do, John.
Yes, I mean, when teams are battling for championships, you've got to use their strengths to the maximum, and that's what Audi and Ferrari are doing. And we're watching still the safety cars just trying to make an assessment as to how soon it will be possible. But the danger is, for example, coming into sunset on the inside of the corner, on the basic apex of the corner, there's a lot of standing water. Other parts of the racetrack, the water is running diagonally across. You can see even coming into sunset, there's water at a critical point if you're doing a qualifying session with everybody out at the same time. Visibility, there's the water standing on the inside. Look how bad it is. Now, the Mercedes is driving through that deliberately to try and disperse it as quickly as possible. And that's going to take, well, I mean, they're just going around and round and round, following in each other's wheel tracks to try and clear the track as quickly as possible.
But the one thing that's absolute is we see Lucas Legere putting his helmet on, the tall figure of the driver there, is the fact the session is going. Birds sitting on the track just ahead of sunset were just normal birds, not waders. It hasn't got that bad, John.
Well, I mean, there were a dozen or more cars all out trying to find that clear lap becomes more difficult. Visibility will be extreme.
Well, look in the background, the Pirelli flag is almost being blown off its pole at pit in, and that's blown down the side of the big main building. So you have areas where the wind is really, really channeled on. That is a flustering wind.
That wind direction has changed from the one that we saw this morning. This morning it was blowing more or less directly into the garages. Now it's almost gone sort of 45 degrees, blowing up the pit straight. So teams have been notified that qualifying is going to get underway. And, well, what can one say? Safety car has come into the pit lane, just driving down the pit lane. We saw there the orange lights still flashing, and the secondary safety car likewise into the pit lane. The sky, Bruce, behind clearly has lifted. There doesn't appear to be rain at the present time falling because the cars look dry.
So let's head down to the pits before the cars go out, because Mercedes' title hope is Timo Boguslavskiy.
Well, Wadi, while the skies may have listed, you can tell that it is still surrounding us all here at Kyalami. And Timur, when you look at this Drivers' Championship, there's still an outside chance that you could be at play here. What have you seen from your team this weekend that think that this is going to be a successful weekend for your group?
Honestly, it's quite tricky race for me because I have a positive test 2 weeks ago, and I take negative like 5 days ago, I think. So those means I'm able to drive. And yeah, I was quite happy about my pace also because I was not driving I think 3-4 months. And yeah, so pace for the car is quite good. We have quite good setup, I think. Yeah, maybe team was not showing other team, I mean, the pace of the cars. But yeah, we will see at the race tomorrow, but I hope we can win this race tomorrow.
Where do you feel the Mercedes really excels at this track?
Finally, I can say, because yeah, finally we have a good BOP. Because yeah, we was not able to fight with the Audi, for example, in the Indianapolis or with Ferrari. Yeah, we just really happy about BOP, I could say, because finally we also have a good speed on the straight, and also we have a lot of aerodynamic in the car, and here is helping for us quite a lot from Mercedes. So yeah, that's it.
So that was Timo Boguslavskiy. Almost felt a bit philosophical as he stood there, because just it's a complicated title battle. He's the outside title shot. Qualifying is actually slightly irrelevant from his point of view. It's about, they have to win it. Basically, the maths are very easy for ACA ASP with the 89 Mercedes. It's had the pace so far. They have to take the 25 points for victory for Timo, the Russian racer, to have any chance of the title. That's all they can go for.
Yes, I mean, it's very straightforward in reality. Just win the 9 hours here at Kyalami. Well, there'll be a lot of motor racing between the start and the checkered flag, but as long as that number 89 Mercedes can keep its nose clean. Now, as we speak, the rain is beginning to start falling again. A few minutes ago, there was none falling. Now it's returning to you can see just that rain drops keep falling on my Mercedes-Benz.
I don't know why they didn't write it like that, John. Right, just official notification, and you've spotted this very well indeed. Standing water at the exits of Turn 2, which we've spotted, and Sunset, Turn 6. That's the official notification. The track has been declared wet. I think we can take that for granted. And the sky is lowering, but it's changing all the time. And if it's raining at Loikop, it probably isn't raining at Turn 2. But I think generally, yes, you can see the light. The fact you can see the edge of the clouds over there. Yes, there's some flare off the light on the gantry, but moody, the photographers will love it, but the drivers were just like consistency.
Well, the difficulty drivers are going to face, and everybody going out in this session will have to contend with it, is going to be visibility. The first car out on the racetrack, and if it gets its first flying lap as a clear lap, probably will end up with the quickest time, unless by miracle upon miracle, the rain stops and we get a dry-ish line evolving in the last or the closing seconds of this first Q1. But I look behind me and I can see that the visibility is deteriorating again, and that's looking towards where turn 16 is. Again, it's the way of the wind direction. It's really difficult conditions for the teams, but primarily for those drivers that are going to do Q1. And again, looking up, this is up at looking from Juksky, the exit of Juksky up into Barbecue. There, you can see quite a long way into the background in one direction, but in other directions, not so good. Here we are now at the entry into Sunset, the diagonal flow of water, that stream of 4 streams of water. You don't want to be following in the wheel tracks of another car and then get blindsided by not seeing where you are. Look again, look at the puddle, look at the size of that puddle, right on the apex of Sunset, and again, the standing water where the cars would be exiting and the run down into Clubhouse. Difficult conditions, particularly if you're getting a group of cars.
John, this morning in practice, we were highlighting the fact that the double apex right-hander that is Sunset is one of the toughest corners on the track. Add the fact that the point at which they're probably at the point of minimum grip and adhesion is now covered by water. It's going to be a case of valour, I think, or no, let's put that one away. Let's say a case for discretion, the other end of that little balance of life.
Well, you know, I've raced in these conditions. I know how difficult it is. So what you have to do is, first of all, you need awareness, spatial awareness of where you are precisely, as now we see the field getting underway, and that's a mad charge. And the 89 Mercedes was not first in line. That first car out, where headlights, rain on the racetrack. I mean, we're having difficulty identifying the cars. What's it like to be in the middle of that pack?
Right, while they find their way around the track, and this is a voyage, a discovery voyage, most notably. these drivers, what is the track like? How was it before? Already one of the cars running quite wide. I think that was a high-class racing Audi down into turn 2. Turn 1 is just it's the kink, it's a right-hand kink, doesn't really count in many ways, but it's where is the water sitting? They've had the official notification. Turn 2, and the next corner, the first car, I think that's Ledegaard's 51 Ferrari, will discover is a corner where he had a bit of a hairy moment in practice this morning, going wide on the exit at Sunset. So rain across the track on the way in, but worse than that, John, it's on the exit.
Yeah, what drivers are going to have to do, particularly here in Sunset, is not take the normal, but the rain is coming down again in sheets. Look, I mean, I don't know whether they're going to finish this session. The amount of water that's going to be on the track in another 5 minutes is going to make it virtually impossible. I suspect they may have to red flag this session. It is absolutely hammering it down.
Or basically, you get out there, you do a banker lap of some sort, and then bring it in. And I cannot, in the 15 minutes of this session, it's surely not going to improve, because as we saw, looking across the track at Clubhouse, that's turn number 7, the amount of rain that suddenly started. In the pit lane, it was a pitter-patter, a little shower, but up there, it was serious tropical rain.
Ledegaard leading the group of cars, going to be the first car that will come across start finish line to go on to his first flying lap, and manages to get through that river, running across at the exit of turn 12 now, down into 13 and 14, runs very wide. That's more than likely intentional, because he's looking for the bits of the racetrack that maybe aren't as flooded. Now into turn 15. I mean, wow, I haven't seen rain like this in second place. That's the Antonio Fuoco Ferrari. But those behind, their visibility, they're having to look out of their side windows to get any clue as to where they are.
Only 2 drivers can see where they're going. It's the 2 Ferrari drivers, because Ledegaard is sufficiently fit and clear of Antonio Fuoco, his teammate, but any driver who goes near the curbs, in the drive, we were saying turn 15, if you run on the curbs, you could be running wide, you could get in trouble. They don't want to go near those curbs, they've got to stay on the black stuff. Best lap so far at this meeting, 1 minute 42.465. That lap, yes, from a standing start, 2 minutes 13, nearly 2 minutes 14. This lap, I don't think we're going to get people under 2 minutes.
We've got to wait for Ledegaard. He's going to be the first car to come across start finish line as we look at the 89 Mercedes. Over there is the Ferrari, and that is the 51 of Ledegaard getting caught out at Yuxke because of the standing water. Now they've got the rest of the field closing and catching, so it'll be well, I was going to say, it is the sister car of Antonio Fuoco who's gone through in the lead. Ledegaard will be very, very unhappy that he's been caught out. The Mercedes now, third of these group of cars. Watch and see, standing water, catches it, and where does the back end of the car go? It goes where the front should be.
Well, that was almost the case. The car aquaplane became light, lack of traction. We saw the deep water on the exit of turn 2, but he was unbalanced by that by the time he got to the Juburg Sky where the track has famously
red flag.
Red
what
flag.
A surprise.
Red Ferrari, red flag. So 8 cars went out, and hopefully 8 will come back. Was Ledegaard the only spinner? He was the one we caught. He was the one leading the way, maybe setting the pace, maybe not, but the cars simply can't hope. Red flag, all the cars will be coming back in. Well, I'm afraid that was a fairly inevitable conclusion to the session, because the cars simply couldn't cope with all of that water. They're not made for that, and really just struggling. I mean, hats off to the camera crews trying to pick them out in the darkness. Well, water probably runs down their back. So for the drivers, it's a case of get back to the pits, dry out, keep the cars dry. We know cars don't like this level of water, John. Electric's getting wet.
Well, you've got to bring the car back into the pit lane, then you've got to push it back into the garage as quickly as possible. Ensure that you get the car chamois down. As we're saying, into the WRT Audi team, the engineers look at these conditions. This is, I think, probably the worst in all the time I've been coming to Kyalami, and that's over 4 decades. Coming down the hill, down the mine shaft. I mean, they're driving at 30, 40 miles an hour. The Pirelli wet weather tyre doing an excellent job in clearing the level of standing water and water on the racetrack, but just deemed, and correctly so, to not be safe to allow these cars to continue qualifying. So there they are, coming into the pit lane one by one.
So super tricky conditions, even for the drivers, John, as they work their way back to the garage areas. And certainly the problems with water on track, problems with water in the car, and clearly problems with everything steaming up, particularly as they go slowly, John.
Well, I mean, it's still absolutely hammering it down. I mean, they even, look, wipers on these GT cars are designed to operate at up to 200 miles an hour. That's the car's potential. But with the volume of rain right now, the wiper can't wipe quickly enough to clear the volume of water that's hitting the windscreens.
And no racing car is fully waterproof. That's also a factor as well, coming in from the bottom, coming in from above. But good thing the cars will be back in the garages. But this is the first of the 3 qualifying sessions. And quite simply, it was delayed start by 20 minutes, 15 minutes, but just not capable, not possible.
Look, there was an urgency to get the cars out on track. There was a little window popped up, but within a minute of that window opening, it was back again to the conditions that we're now looking at. And you can just see the amount of rain, the weight of the rain on the racetrack or the pit lane right now. So the Mercedes goes back into the pits, pushed back in. As it happens, out of interest, for those that think this has got a relevance, the 89 Mercedes Raffaele Marciello, the car that's been the dominant car all weekend, 7th quickest. I didn't want to laugh at that because it is almost, unfortunately, a laughable situation. But this is a serious event. This is an event where there are team championships, manufacturers championships, drivers championships to be decided. And here we are having to dance around human nature. And even that little lovely little bird, that little wader you saw on the racetrack, it's given up and gone for cover.
Yeah, fair call. So the car that was the one that was fastest in all the sessions. No one got a representative time quite clearly because those were all their outlaps. That has Colm Ledegaard, the driver, who was the first of them to spin in that session before the red flag came out. In many ways, just convincing them the flag had to come out, John. It was time to bring it back in, but conditions just unbelievable out on the circuit.
Well, yes, to say yes without sort of labouring the point, the conditions, once it began raining again, it was going to be inevitable. And frankly, you almost wanted to red flag it before they'd completed a lap because it was just falling so heavily. And frustration in the pit lane, frustration all around the racetrack. We say the weather forecast predicted lightning and 60% chance of rain at this point of the day, reducing to 50%, reducing to 40% as the day goes on. Will we ever get to that 40% stage, I think?
Well, it's hard to know, and it's interesting. I just had a quick check. There was only that one spin in that session, that very, very curtailed session. It was the one we saw from the driver, Colm Ledegaard. Nobody else went around, but I suppose he was the warning, and then very soon after that, the red flags came out. So the car's back in, and if you've just come in on this qualifying session, let's go down and hear from a driver who didn't go out, but he's got his time coming up. His teammate Patrick Niederhauser went out, but let's hear from Markus Winkelhock.
Well, Markus Winkelhock is the Indy 8-hour winner that comes into Kyalami knowing success. When you look at the points battle, you know it's going to be a fight out there tomorrow. Why does your team have a chance at winning this whole championship?
I think we are here for winning this championship. It's unfortunately only 8 cars on track, but these cars are really strong lined up, so it will be a really tough battle, I guess, over 9 hours. As you can see now, also the weather conditions are changing really quickly here. So I think it's going to be a really interesting and tough race, I guess.
You mentioned off camera that the Audi is a little bit off pace. Have you guys identified what might be happening?
We don't know, actually. Yeah, in pre-practice sessions we were missing a little bit of pace. That's true, definitely, but we hope, because normally in race pace the Audi is not too bad, and I hope that we have a bit stronger race pace tomorrow in the race, and then it's, as I said, it's 9 hours, there can happen many things. Should be all right.
Well, Patrick Niederhauser went out for his stint and made his way back to the garage. I know he was grabbing a mask so he could chat with us, but Patrick, you saw that, you hopped out of the car and said that was easy. Seriously, these conditions, how do you prepare for it?
Yeah, well, right just before, it wasn't easy at all. It was just about surviving, actually. But I basically knew they have to red flag it because there was such a lot of water on track. And with modern GT3 cars, the tires are so big, so wide. Aquaplaning is a real issue, so it's better to wait a bit.
Guys?
So that was Patrick Niederhauser, all putting on a brave face, but I think there were probably quite a few fairly fearful individuals over there. They simply couldn't tell what amount of water they were going to meet where, and it was that stream coming out of the Juburg Sky sweep that made conditions so difficult. We're going to take a pause in our commentary because of the extreme conditions, and we'll be back, but we can't tell you when that will be. We're waiting for conditions to improve, but as you can see, too wet for any cars to be on the track. That is the end of qualifying for now. We'll be back as soon as the conditions improve.